fool your friends, but when you lay your head on the pillow at night, you can't fool yourself. You know if you did the best that you could do that very day. And the third thing is something I learned from a much higher source. Treat others as you would like to be treated. Folks, wouldn't we be better off?
Yes.
If you treat others like you would like to be treated. Self-confidence. Self-confidence. Number 5 of my traits of success. And look, this ain't going to be 20 or anything, so y'all hang in there. Y'all hang in there. We're going to say, oh, how many is this guy going to give us? We're getting there. Number 5. Work hard. Folks, you can call that whatever you want. You can call it work hard. You can call it being industrious. You can call it rolling up your sleeves. But again, that's another trait that you don't see in everybody. Is we're going to outwork somebody. Whether you have the same resources, more resources, less resources, you can show with the effort that you give, and you can outwork somebody. Let me tell you a little story. There was a farmer, rural Louisiana. If anybody lives on a rural, small, mom and pop farm, that takes work. And there was this guy, he had one employee, a hired hand that he relied on year after year to help him on that farm. And guess what? That employee came to him one day and he said, "Sir, I've got some bad news. I got a family member that's sick back home and I got to leave. I can't work." Man, it was about to be the big season. He needed somebody. He understood this. "I'm sorry, I appreciate you. You've been loyal and I hope the best for you." The guy left or whatever. So the farmer was at a loss. He needed somebody to help him. So what did he do? He nailed up a sign on the side of his fence out there. "Help wanted." And lo and behold, one day a guy walked by and the farmer said, he said, "I see your sign. I see you need somebody." The farmer said, "I desperately need somebody." He says, "What can you do?" That young man said something odd. He says, "Well, I can sleep when the wind blows." Farmer thought that was an odd response, but guess what? He needed help. He needed help now. He says, "You're hired." And things went along great. That young man proved to be a good worker, and it went along great. He got work and went 3 or 4 months, everything looked good. And one day, one of those nightmares of that farmer is a huge storm came up. And I'm talking about thunder and lightning and wind and everything. So that farmer did with everybody with his life in those fields. He shot up in bed when he heard that storm coming. He got dressed and he ran outside because he had to go check on everything. And he went to the barn. It was battened down tight. Opened the door and went inside. All the tools were placed everywhere where it's supposed to be. Animals were tied up. Everything was perfect. Locked the door back, battened it down, and said, "I better go check on my worker." He went to that back house where that worker was, and guess what he was doing? He was sleeping. And then the farmer realized what the guy meant when he said, "If you hire me, I can sleep when the wind blows." What he meant is I'm going to do everything right every day, every step of the day. And when that first big obstacle comes up, I am going to be prepared. Things are going to be done so I can sleep. Can you sleep when the wind blows? Folks, I've seen in my career, I've seen people, and it was students that I taught, and you could tell which ones could sleep when the wind blows. We got a test on Friday, it's Monday. Tell them on Tuesday, got a test on Friday, it's Tuesday. Got a test on Friday, it's Wednesday. And guess what? Here comes the ones that can sleep when the wind blows. They're there, they're focused, they're ready. And then you can see the ones that come in and have been drinking those energy drinks all night, and they waited because they waited to 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh, we got a test. And they're not prepared. So how are they going to perform in their work as compared to the ones that worked hard every step along the way? Work hard, number 5. Number 6 is studious. I remember when I graduated from college, I said, "That's it. Guess what? I don't have to study anymore." Boy, was I wrong. I don't care if it's a formal education, informal education, you better be on top of your game. And you better know your markets, you better know what you're doing, and you better study and be a student of your career. Where are you going? Studious. I love to tell this story. When I was a young coach in college, I've told you about our goal setting. One of the young girls that I recruited was a young lady from Houston, Texas. And she lived in Houston. She lived in, look, it wasn't one of the top, what you would call it, college prep schools in America. She lived in one of the inner city schools there. And I recruited her, fine, amazing young woman. And back that time, you got to remember, that was before we had all these phones and internets and all that. We had a phone, but it was connected to a cord that went to the wall. So I go up into my office and I would make those recruiting calls every night. And I would talk to this and building that relationship with the folks you recruited. And I remember this young lady, it was time to invite her for a visit. And she said something that struck me. Can my mom come with me on the visit? I said, well, of course, bring your family, whatever. And I'd spoken to the mom. She'd answer the phone, and every time she answered the phone, I realized that it was a Hispanic family. And she would answer, hola, like that. And she would come in. But when the mom came, I realized that how important that was to her and her family. First, oldest daughter, first generation, nobody else had ever gone to college. And I was asking her to leave her state of Texas, come over to Louisiana and run. And let me tell you, phenomenal young lady. But what I saw in her, that studious attitude and trait that she had, is she worked hard. And she didn't let sometimes the language barrier impede her reaching her goals. As a matter of fact, she would be late to practice or almost late, running up at the last second. And I found out she was in the lab, the foreign language lab, tutoring other students. So do you see what I'm saying? She didn't use that as something that would hold her back. She used it as a strength. She made a little side money too. She was doing some tutoring. She was helping others. She was studious, and we saw her go the extra mile every day. Let's fast forward about 30 years later. Somebody coming out of that environment where it was going to be a struggle. She is now the department chair in bilingual education in that Houston school district. What a story. Coming to somebody that you just changed her life and her trajectory. Wasn't even sure she was going to go to college. And now she's leading others and influencing those. Being studious. Number 7. Folks, be a competitor. Be a competitor. Let me tell you a secret about myself. I like to win. I like to win. Be a competitor. And you know that. What's a competitor? Doing your best when your best is expected. It's my time. Give me the ball. 1 second on the shot, we're losing by 1. I want it. I want it. Be that competitor. Let me tell you a story. When I was president, I talked to one of my deans. Phenomenal young lady. Phenomenal. And we were talking just like you all. You look at your markets and you look at how do we expand programs? How do we make our programs more attractive? How do we make our already excellent programs even better? At our university, we had still do have a phenomenal nursing program. And look, we offer associate degrees of nursing, 2 years, 4-year degree nursing, master's degrees of nursing. We also offer all kinds of stuff and opportunities for folks. But we were talking one time, and the dean said, well, if we had a doctoral program, a nurse anesthetist program, folks that put you to sleep when you go into those operations. We don't have anything in central North Louisiana. If people want to be that practitioner as a nurse anesthetist, they have to go to either New Orleans, Houston, Dallas, closest ones. I said, why not? Let's go for it. Well, we got so many barriers. Well, we can't do that. Number 1, we don't have the facilities. Okay? Number 2, it costs a lot. We don't have the money. And number 3, we're in the rural part of the state and you can't get students. Okay. Let's do it. Let's do it. And she had that attitude. She had all those traits I talked about. Let's do it. So what did we do? We had talked to all the administrators at the hospital. They told us this was one of their biggest needs. Okay, partner with us. So we didn't have the facilities. So guess what? They got the facilities at the hospital, and they allowed us to go in there to teach those. This is 3 years ago. Secondly, no money. Folks, we made a commitment internally, but we also reached out to external partners and receive millions of dollars in support. It's going to help them and their organizations. It's going to help the field. It's going to help the state. It's going to help the students. Do you know that the students in that program were able to accept 20 a year? It's a 3-year program, 20 a year. 10 in Shreveport, 10 in Alexandria. Because the folks that were having to go to those other cities, guess what, when they went over there? A lot of them stayed. And they left our region right here. Yeah. But now if we offer it here, we're going to stay. And it's a high-cost program. But we were able to secure, of those 20 spots, 12 of the spots, these hospitals and other entities pay half of their tuition. So instead of it costing the students $75,000 over 3 years, it might be $30,000. And they got a job waiting on them when they come back, because that's part of the partnership. So what a win-win. It's great for our area. People coming out making a couple of $100,000 a year when they graduate. It's great for the hospitals and the community. And it's great for those students. They get to stay here with their families. And remember, we can't get enough students because we're in this rural part of the state. How many students do we accept a year? 20. This past year, 250 applicants for those 20 spots. Wow. Be a competitor. Be a competitor. And number 8. And last, that's what y'all been waiting to hear. Number 8. Don't quit. Simple. Don't quit. I focus back to that time when I started in higher education as a coach, and I knelt on that ground and had a choice. Don't quit, or this ain't going to happen again. Don't quit. Let me tell you a little story. At one time in my career, I was a vice president for the students. And we were sitting one day in a room just like this, 5 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon, sitting there with my director of the student activity, who was another phenomenal professional. And we were having a ceremony. It was in April, right at the end of the semester. And that's when you start having some of these different award ceremonies and different things like that. We sat in the back, and there was about 10 people maybe in their chairs, and then there were 5 students sitting over here ready to get their award. The name of the organization, it was the Freshman Honor Society. Okay? So it was for all the freshmen, the people that had finished their first year of college, and they had a 3.5 grade point average and above. Okay? Pretty elite group. Freshman year, all the distractions, they made a 3.5 on a 4.0 schedule and above. And we sat there that day and we honored those 5 students, and we gave them a certificate, and we told them, hey, you're now a member of, in colleges like to have all these different Greek letter name organizations. Alpha, Lambda, Delta. Alpha, Lambda, Delta is the national organization for the Freshman Honor Society, okay? Everybody in America, these colleges in America, they have an Alpha, Lambda, Delta group. And it looks good on the resume. Somebody see that Alpha, Lambda, Delta? 3.5 and above, and that's what we told those. Congratulations, great job, and here's your certificate. That's it. And we looked at each other and said, we can do better than this. We can do better than this. So what we did is what we just told you. We went over to a board over there, and we wrote down, we want to be better in this organization and honoring these students. So what did we start with? We set a goal. And you know what our goal was? We want to have the best Alpha, Lambda, Delta Freshman Honor organization in America. Woo! 400 plus colleges and universities that have this. We had 5 students walking across that thing, and we wrote that audacious goal that we wanted to be the best in America. Okay, let's start working down how we're going to do it. We're going to be committed to it. We're going to have a positive attitude. We're going to have self-confidence in this thing. We're going to work hard for this. We're going to be studious and see how others do it. You got it? You understand? We're going to compete. We're going to do it all. So we set that plan in action. Next year, we're going to start, and we're not going to have just, we got to build up this ceremony. We got to grow larger than this room that we're in right now. So what did we do? First of all, there's about 1,600 freshmen that come, and about a couple of hundred were eligible for that. Remember, only 5 had showed up the first year because it wasn't a big deal. We invited mamas and daddies and aunts and uncles and grandparents and everything, and we put it out there that it's a big deal, because it is a big deal. And we had that thing in that room right there. We're hoping to get double that 10 people. Folks, that were standing room only, going around there. Next year, when we come in, remember those kind of that progression we always do? Oh, we're going to have it bigger than last year. Yeah, that's bigger. That was this past year. We got to create more excitement. So what did we do? We chartered a student organization. We said, these are like-minded students. Studies mean a lot to them. So let's put them together not only for this ceremony, but throughout the year and throughout their career. So we chartered a local organization. Year number 2. Year number 3, we went to the ballroom. Now all of a sudden, instead of 10 people in that audience, 20 the next year, we probably had 300 in there. Food, drinks, festivities, showing other parts of the university. Our creative performing arts had music, had everything that we could do. Next year, let's elect officers of this college. Let's make it competitive where they're going to work and they're going to want to be an officer. And we elected that. But let's not only make them an officer, studious, let's find out what other people are doing. And you know, there's a national conference. And this year it's in Boston, Massachusetts. Let's bring our folks to there. But let's also use it as a learning experience. Some of these students have never been out of state, never been on an airplane. So let's help them and teach them to go through an airport and how to check your bags and how to do the process. And we go to Boston, Massachusetts. And we learned at Boston, Massachusetts that year that there's opportunities. They actually elect a student member of this large organization to sit on their board of directors and sit there with all these professionals. Another goal. Let's get one of our students on that board. Next year, a young lady from Stonewall, Louisiana is sitting there on the national board of Alpha Lambda Delta, going to Indianapolis, Indiana for meetings 4 times a year. And we also learned that there's scholarships available. Since that time, probably in about 2016, Northwestern has had a scholarship winner, multi-thousands of dollars each year for the last several years. And I was sitting in my office a year later, and that dean of students walked in now, and she walked in and says, look at this letter I just got. We were just voted the #1 chapter in the United States. Awesome. Folks, unbelievable. From an organization that had 5 people that you gave a certificate to, and you're out of there after about 30 minutes, to setting a goal that we want to be the best in America. And not only has that organization won the best chapter in America, each year they give an award, and it's called Sustaining the Flame for Excellence. It's not just getting there, it's remaining there. And that chapter has won it every year since then. Folks, don't quit. Let me tell you something. Walker Automotive, y'all have a reputation that is second to none. I hope y'all know what y'all mean to not only this city, but this region in Louisiana. And it's things like this. You come in here, you learn, and you're bettering yourself, and you're going out there and you're helping others. You're putting folks, and folks, that's important, that folks have transportation so they can get to work, they can get to the hospital, they can get their kids to school, and it means a lot. I want to thank you for everything you do. And most of all, thank you all for having me here this morning and spending a few minutes with y'all. Thank you.
Okay, so
There's a story about that too. We're truly blessed and honored to have Chris this morning.
Yes.
And I think you felt that this morning. It's truly inspired. I reminded him on Tuesday, and I told the story. Ash, 3 years ago, played for the state championship in Durban Stadium. If you remember LSU's game Saturday night, Ash at the end of the game scored, down by 1 point. They decided to go for 2 to win the state championship, and they didn't make it. But like the coach said, there was only one choice, to win the state championship. That's why we were there. So that's why I made the decision, even though we didn't do it. So that was 3 years ago, and that was on